They fixed it? They actually fixed it? How did Razer know? How? No. This is huge. That is crazy. Now, obviously, I need to explain what is it that Razer has actually fixed. And so to do that, we need to go a little bit backwards in time. To the moment where I had decided to buy myself my very first Razer Blade. The Razer Blade Advanced, the early 2021 model specifically. And I was really excited about it. It was my most expensive laptop purchase of my life, by far mile. It had the RDX 3070, and I made a review of it. And if you guys remember seeing it, I talked good things about the device, but with a pinch of salt. Not everything was as rosy as I had hoped it to be, and the device had quite a few flaws. Not quirky ones, like really irritating ones. But I learned to live with it, thinking that that is the Razer way, and that compromises were to be made. So deep in my heart of hearts, I still felt deeply dissatisfied that even after spending all of that money, I still did not get like the pinnacle of portable gaming. But without going into too many details, I got myself the more slightly updated Razer Blade, more like the fall collection of the Razer Blade 2021 Advanced. So exactly the same laptop, only with the 11th gen processor, at least at the face of it. Everything else out of the box, the whole experience, identical to the first one. But it seems that everything has changed about this device, and I want to talk about it. So it isn't surprising that when I think about the quirks of the 10th generation Razer Blade, quite a few of them come to my mind, right? But the worst of them all was actually the sudden frame drops, like the stuttering that used to happen right in between games, randomly out of nowhere, and it used to spoil the fun really bad. I had to restart the device a few times for it to get back to normal, and it did get back to normal, but it's such a horrible experience, right? So did they fix it in this device? And I'm delighted to say that that issue is long gone, poof, no longer there. Frames are now buttery smooth, and it is at this point I'd say, I'm done recording, I'm gonna go back to playing some games now, that's it. But it only gets better after that, because it seems Razer made a collection of all of the issues that I had in my mind, and they tweaked everything just a little bit for it to become actually worth of its gargantuan price tag. So let's keep going at this. Now, the second most irritating thing for me personally was actually its moody and its part-time refresh rate. Now, what that actually means is that while the laptop was running off its Intel graphics, it was stuck at 60 Hz. So when you launch a game, the game detects that I need integrated NVIDIA graphics, and that would allow it to go up to its high refresh rate. And that was personally really inconsistent for me, because I like using high refresh rate while browsing and while doing other normal tasks than just in a game. But we have it on our phones, damn it, why can't we have it on our laptops, right? So I didn't like that at all. I had to switch to the integrated graphics manually, which used to take up more power while doing normal everyday tasks, just to get a high refresh rate. It was stupid, I didn't like it. So the question is, have they fixed it? And yeah, they have actually fixed it. And now you can access that feature really easily within the Razer's own Synapse software. You don't have to go manually through NVIDIA's own control panel. So that's a really good and nice feature to have. It should have been there from the start as a really basic thing, but I'm really glad that it's fixed now. So yeah, this screen is 165 Hertz. The previous one had 240 Hertz, but like I mentioned then and now, I still maintain 240 Hertz is too much. 165 is the sweet spot. Even 144 Hertz is a good compromise, but this just right. The QHD at 165 Hertz is still very beautiful. Now, the third most irritating thing, and this could have been the second one as well, was actually its decoder-defining heat fans. If you guys have seen War of the Worlds, you guys know what I'm talking about, but in case you haven't, here's a little clip to explain what I'm on about.
When you start screaming like that, you know, I can't really drive it. I know that. That's where we're going right now. Rachel, they probably turned around. I know!
Yeah. It's like having a really irritating little girl inside of your laptop who's screaming all the time. That's what the fans sounded like. It's a really minute thing. Some people get, worked up about it, some don't. I used to wear headphones, so I didn't get too bothered. Like I said, I got used to it. But dude, they fixed that as well. Now they still sound like a high squealy sort of a pitch to the fans, but they're so much better. They're so much nicer now, these fans, and their overall tune. So thank you, Razer, for fixing that. I no longer have to deal with a laptop having some sort of a crisis, so that's good. Yes, I'm just getting started. There were more things wrong with that device. The fourth most irritating thing for me was actually its battery life, running off a AAA pencil cell. Yeah, it had the worst battery life of any laptop I've ever had in my entire life. Even I'm talking about the old ones, which could easily outlast it. My average battery life was, I don't know, 2.5 hours at really normal regular use by just browsing, and the battery used to go out. Maybe that device may have been defective, I don't know, but really poor battery life. Again, happy to say that everything is just fine now. I get like an average of like 5 to 6 hours with with high screen brightness, with the keyboard lights on, and with high refresh rates, everything working as it should. But I still get a decent life. It's not going to be like one of those Surface Books, obviously. It's not meant for that anyway. But as it is, it does a good job. It does a much better job than the previous iteration. Now, moving on was actually their lifeless keyboard. And by lifeless, I mean you'd press a button and you wouldn't even realize that you pressed a button. They were smudgy and they were just weird and squishy, like a keyboard on a kid's toy. I know that sounds bad, but it was really weird. And I wasn't expecting Razer to do anything about that, but I can't believe it. They've actually sort of, in a really delicate sort of way, tuned the keyboard in some way that it now feels a little bit more tactile. And it feels like, for me, it feels better. I don't know if it is like the weird Razer effect. This could be a placebo effect, seeing other things going right. So I want to imagine that this went right as well. I haven't read on Razer making any changes to the keyboard specifically, but this one feels so much nicer than the previous smudgy keyboard. So another green tick there. So moving on, the speaker performance for me, despite that THX sticker, was quite abysmal. Really poor speaker performance. Something that I'm not exactly specific about when like thinking about a laptop, because you're usually getting you have the headphones. I personally don't use a lot of the laptop speakers. There's always some sort of headphone that I'm using for any audio. So this would be crazy if Razer also went out and did something about the speakers. I mean, they've got these two specific dedicated grills at each side of the keyboard just for the for the speakers to be housed in. So did they fix it? I mean, they're having a good record so far, so no. They, at least to my ears, they still sound pretty much as miserable as they used to before. Like, no depth at all. It's like they've got a weird polythene bag under there, which is sort of vibrating just uncontrollably. Just really sad and pathetic. Those speakers are horrible. So they're still horrible. They were horrible. They're still horrible. So yeah, no improvement there. But again, I'm not that bothered. They fixed the stuttering, guys. I'm happy with just that, but I'm just happy there's so many things to come. But let's not stop there. Let's not stop there, because there was one other minor thing I ignored at first, and I thought I'd live with it, was the webcam. There's 720p webcam, which was just stolen from a Nokia from the 1990s. I swear the video quality was absolutely pathetic. And because Windows Hello used to use that same sensor, even Hello, when signing me in using, my face, I had a really tough time. So it was horrible. And this is something that I was not expecting at all to be changed, right? But turns out they've upgraded the webcam in this, and it now has a 1080p camera, which is kind of different and new for especially a gaming laptop. These things don't go beyond 720p. You just need like a nice sensor even at a low resolution. But this camera is so much better than the previous one. And it's because of that Windows Hello also works much nicer. It does not have a manual shutter still, but that's okay, whatever. The camera is now much better. It's a really good addition to have. Thank you. Like other manufacturers like Asus, those guys don't even add a webcam, which is ridiculous, regardless of what anybody uses a laptop for in a time and age of like in this post-COVID era where you're bound to be talking to a lot of people via the webcam. Regardless of how things work out, you need a webcam. You need a good one at that, right? So yeah, thank you Razer for recognizing that and making that adjustment. Good job there. Now the last thing I remember about the Blade was actually its really horrible heat management, which now that I think about it should have been the first thing I should have talked about. Heat management is important for any laptop. A gaming laptop is a different matter altogether, but yeah, for especially gaming laptop, you need really good heat management. And the Advanced has a vapor chamber, and I expected it to do some good stuff even with the previous iteration. But as it seemed, the keyboard and the whole device used to get heated up a lot, and I never tried it, but I genuinely felt that you could cook something on that device. It became really unbearably hot, right? Uncomfortable to the touch, like beyond uncomfortable to the touch. I would leave the device on idle and it would just heat up. Even with zero applications running at absolute idle, the device would just heat up just randomly. And so that was a pretty bad issue to have, but still I somehow managed to live with it. So did Razer fix that issue? And the answer to that is maybe. Partly, yeah. Let's go with partly. In terms of its idle performance, when you're just doing light browsing, you're just not doing much for it to be using a lot of its resources. Good news is it now remains cool. It's a normal laptop. When you're not using it extensively, it is going to treat your experience as a normal laptop experience. It just becomes like it barely even becomes lukewarm right now. It doesn't become very hot, especially so the question is, and the answer to that question is maybe, or perhaps partly, right? So let me explain. When it comes to idle performance, when you're just, or not even idle performance, when you're doing some casual browsing or just, using, so let me explain. When you're doing, casual browsing or document work within your laptop, just using your laptop as a laptop, not as a gaming machine, this device is now going to stay cool, right? Previously, not the case at all, but this one remains cool and composed. And that is an amazing thing to have now. Honestly, the previous one, it used to have fans whirring up at absolutely no kind of load at all. It was all over the place, really ill managed. But this one right now, with a few applications running in the background, with not a lot of resources there, is absolutely cool. The previous one, surprisingly, had a bit of an issue there. It used to get really hot. Now, under load, when you are, suppose, playing a game at QHD with its settings all maxed out, it will, in comparison to, for example, the Legion Slim 7 that I reviewed earlier, still does get comparably hotter. 100%. That still happens, but it is much more well managed in comparison to the previous blade I had. So that is still a good thing. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be, you know, ice cold naturally under load. It is better than the previous one, but I did wish that somehow their thermals could have been a bit well managed. But you know what? In fairness, look at it. This thing is crazy thin. It is thinner than even the Legion, you know, Slim 7. With that limited space, with that really tight body, I think it is doing the best it can. So this brings to a re-evaluation of my conclusion from the previous review I had. And I should remind you guys that this is all exactly the same as the previous one, the previous device. It, at the face of it, it just has an Intel 11th gen processor rather than 10th gen one. But Razer has just improved all of these small things just a little bit to actually now make it, yeah, like almost worth that hefty price tag. This is a really unique offering in the market in terms of a gaming laptop, and it had a lot of compromises before, but now, you know, you just have to deal with the tinfoil speakers and that heat management thing. But I think it is doing the best it can in this slim design. I am finally proud to be part of the Razer cult now. There you have it. This, with all of its slight tweaks, is blowing my mind. Hey everyone, just a slight update to this video, an ironic one. Turns out that while I was making this video, while editing it, I was traveling and the Razer Blade just sort of gave in. It refused to start up after I put it on sleep mode. It only had this low green light blinking in front of it that normally does to show that it's on, but the screen was off, the keyboard was off, the fans used to turn on sometimes, but that's it. The device was pretty much dead. I reached out to Razer support. They gave me a few tips, some hard reset tips, but it did not work at all. And they asked me to submit it for repairs. Because I was traveling, that was inconvenient, and I was hugely frustrated that I couldn't, you know, use my device, especially when I was traveling, right? I attempted to do something on my own, and I was able to revive it, and I wanted to share that with you. So if you guys have a Razer device and you sometimes have this issue, how I managed to, you know, bring it back to life was actually resetting it the BIOS. And you can reset the BIOS by actually taking out that CMOS battery, you know, like the circular battery that you can find on the main board, and you need to remove it for about 20 minutes, and then you need to put it back in, and it should be that should reset the BIOS. And it worked for me. It helped the device go back to normal, exactly how it was before as I had left it. So I thought it's only fair that I should share that with you guys. Yep. So I hope you guys enjoyed like the slight update to the Razer Blade review. Press the thumbs up button if you like this video, and please do subscribe to my channel. Really means a lot. Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.